Well, hey ceramic students, it's Miss New here. Welcome back to day 2 of our pinch pot rattle project. Super excited today to get moving forward with this project. So if you haven't watched video 1 of this, please go back and watch that. Just to review, we've made the 2 pinch pots, we added the 20 shakers, we slipped and scored them together, and now we have a hollow vessel hanging out in a bag. But before we get that out today, I really want to talk about your plan for this project. Have you done some sketching? Have you done some visual research? So here's just a couple ideas that I have for my rattle. And I want you to think about the fact that most of your rattles are going to start with kind of a round shape. So here for my bird, you can see that's going to be the shaker part. Could I add a head and a tail and texture and make my rattle into a bird? Maybe I can make my rattle into a fish if I start with my round ball and add a tail and a mouth and some fins. What about a turtle? That might be fun. Now, these are all animal ideas, but it's really up to you to think about what ideas that you would like to do. But I really want you to start with at least 3 concepts. If you're a sketching person, great. If you're a person who maybe you're not the best at drawing, but that's okay. They can be simple sketches like this. But let's see another way we can do some research. We could go online. Let's say I want to do a dolphin rattle. Well, if I type in the word dolphin into Google Images, most likely I'm going to get some photographs of dolphins. I might get, a drawing of a dolphin, and that's great. But you guys, I have to sculpt a dolphin. I have to make a dolphin into 3D. So what might work better is to type in the word dolphin sculpture or toy. Here's a little, looks like a little rubber squeaky toy or something of a dolphin. Now I could see this being a rattle. Here's the round part. If I just added a little tail, the little mouth and the fins, I think I could do something like that. And I just typed in, instead of dolphin, a dolphin toy. Here's another dolphin toy. What about that? That looks like a stuffed animal. Hey, but I can see it in 3 dimensions. Someone has already created this stuffy and it looks like a dolphin, and that helps me to see the shapes. This or this are going to help you a lot more with creating this than maybe this, unless you get more to the details. So if you have access to a printer, go to the library, print out a couple ideas. This is fine too, or this is fine too, but I am going to want to see your visual research for this project, and I'm going to want to see that you brainstormed some ideas and that you have a direction. So I'm going to stick with this little cutie, and he's going to be my inspiration. Now, is it going to turn out exactly like that? Maybe not, but he's my inspiration for this project. So now that I have a direction, I'm going to set this out on my desk. So when Miss New comes around, she kind of knows what I'm doing. She has, oh, is that what you're going to work on? And then she can help me. And now I'm ready to get my tools out, get my station set up, and get my project out. Okay, so I know today I'm going to need some slip and score. That's something I kind of always need. I might need some texture tools today too, but let's go ahead and see what's going on with my rattle so far, and if I can come up with something to make it more like a dolphin. We'll see here. Now I've got my venting hole. It's all smooth and slips and sort together. Now, if I look at it today and it's not looking that great, the first thing I'm going to do is take my sponge, and I'm going to spend a little time. And this is a weird term, and I've made it up, but I call this cat licking. If you have a cat, you know, a cat sits there and grooms itself. It licks and licks and licks. So do a little cat licking, okay? Take your sponge, really smooth this out. This rattle's been hanging out in a bag, unloved. Give it a little love, okay? Give it a little sponge bath. You could get a little water on a paintbrush. You could smooth that way. Wake it up, say, okay, what are we gonna do here? Before I start adding or doing much else, I wanna do a little cat licking and make it nice. So as I'm looking at my picture, I'm looking at kind of this part here. And so I squared mine off quite a bit, but I'm gonna go back in and just make it a little bit more rounded. And I'm gonna think about what parts do I need to add here? So I've gotta have a tail coming out. I need a mouth. So I know that I'm gonna need a little extra clay. So take a look at your clay bag. Do you have a chunk of clay left? If not, go back to the demo table or the supply table, get yourself a couple little pieces okay? Because you might need a little extra clay to start adding things today. So I'm gonna start with this mouth part, and I'm just gonna try sculpting this out. So dolphins have this kind of snout that comes out. I also want to be thinking about the hang loose rule. I don't want it thinner than my pinky. I don't want it fatter than the fattest part of my thumb. I want it someplace in the middle. Now that's almost getting too thin, but that might work. And on my picture, he's kind of leaning back a little bit. So I'm gonna push this back, there we go. And he has this kind of part that comes out, I guess. And it also has a bottom lip. Now again, this is just a guide. It might not turn out exactly like this, but that's okay. Guess what? No one's gonna see that picture. All right, there we go. That's looking kind of like a dolphin mouth, I guess. And let's go ahead and slip and score that on and just see where that leads us. So day 2 is really about figuring out, okay, how do I make the top of a mushroom? How do I make this look like a Pepsi can? And again, I'm gonna give you lots of, I didn't put any slip in there, did I? I'm gonna give you lots of examples and ideas, but hopefully now you have a direction. If you're still stumped, then, you know, ask your neighbor, what should I make? Ask Miss New, what should I make? Think about your hobbies, your passions. Think about something that has personal relevance to you, and then keep it simple. You play basketball, make a basketball. You like soccer, make a soccer ball. Although soccer balls are harder than you think because they have all those shapes on them. What are those shapes called? I don't know if it's looking like a duck or a dolphin, but we're going with it. All right, I'm gonna slip and score this on. I don't know, y'all. Just keep it simple. It doesn't have to be this complex. Okay, make it into a heart. Make an emoji. Make it into a cell phone. Make it into a tribute of your favorite band or artist or something. I don't know. Food works well. Something simple. Gosh, I've even had kids look at the Gatorade bottle that's sitting on their table and sculpt that. Doesn't have to be too complicated. I'm slipping and scoring and blending, okay, as I'm chit-chatting with you. And I've got my little dolphin mouth on there. Now, is it perfect? No. Are we going with it? Sure. And I'm gonna figure out where to put his eyes. So I'm gonna push into here. Okay, that's where his eyes are gonna kind of live. Blend that back in. And again, this is just getting the basics down here. Now I'm gonna add more detail and keep going with this guy, but I've got to get it kind of into a dolphin shape. So let's think about his tail down here. How could I do that? Well, if I take a piece, again, not too thick, but not too thin, and I cut it down the middle, I might be able to make a whale of a tail. Dun, 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 dun. Dolphin tail, I think. So don't overcomplicate your life, just keep it simple. I am gonna be looking for craftsmanship. I'm gonna be looking that you took your time, that you did a nice job. And we'll talk about carving in some lines and stuff too. There's some tricks on that, but let's just say this is gonna be my little dolphin tail down here. Now, I feel like it's a little long, so I'm gonna trim part of it away. I don't need a long tail. It's gonna be kind of a cute, chubby little tail sticking out. Yeah. Figure out how it's gonna go on there before you start slipping and scoring, okay? Maybe it's gonna be, yours is gonna be a penguin. I don't know. Now, if you have a larger shape like this tail, get in here with the fork. It will save you some time rather than using that needle tool all the time for slipping and scoring, especially if it's kind of a bigger piece. But don't forget to really scratch it up. Rough up that surface, add the slip, moosh it on there. Okay, that's the official pottery term. Mooshing, and then blend. All right, so you can see where I'm going with this. I'm just getting a start. Now, might be looking a little bit more like a penguin, but that's okay. I also have, see this little gap right here? Let me show you a little trick. I'm gonna do a little baby snail tail here, or a little snake, baby snake. I'm gonna push that in because it's kind of hard to blend that right there. Watch this. I'm just gonna add a little bit and that will give me a little extra clay to blend back and forth. All right. You got to make sure things are well attached. The biggest bummer is when you set something on the greenware shelf and you pick it up from the bisqueware shelf and there's a piece broken off. And yeah, sometimes that's on me or the person who loaded the kiln, but 9 times out of 10, y'all, it's kind of on you. It means that piece wasn't attached well enough. It means there wasn't enough slip and score, or that it was too thin or something. Okay, so you'll get better at it as you go. Yes, we can glue it. It's not the end of the world, but the more slip score blend you can do to try to not have that problem, because it makes you want to cry. It's sad when a little piece breaks off and you're like, wait, that was the little antenna to my butterfly. Why did it break off? It's like, well, because it was the size of a needle tool. It was that thin. It was too thin. No wonder it broke off. And again, these are all things you just have to kind of learn as you go. I'm trying to make some eyes here as I'm chit-chatting with you. You kind of learn as you go. And you get better as you go. Okay? All right. Now, he's turning into something. What? I don't quite know. He kind of looks like a fat penguin, but I'm okay with it. I'm not done. I'm going to keep adding his little arms, and I'm going to add a fin back here, and I'm going to keep working on him, okay? But this is pretty good. At least I have a direction. At least I'm going somewhere. Let's talk a little bit about adding some kind of texture. So let's say I wanted to carve in some texture. I could go in there with a needle tool, and I could draw something on. Let's say I want to draw on his little fin. Okay, that's fine. I could do that. Okay, what might work better is to actually get a wooden tool, and once I have that line in there, what if I press that in a little bit more? What if I kind of sculpt that a little bit more? Instead of just having a line, what if I kind of make that part of the design and really push it in? I could do that. Sometimes these needle tools do more cutting than sculpting. Another tool that works really well, you guys, is a sharp pencil for drawing on texture and designs. Okay, now he really looks like a duck, but you know what I'm saying. See the difference? I could just go like that, or I could more sculpt it. And I think I would prefer to actually add that piece, but that's just me. But sometimes these lines, especially when you get glaze on them, I'm going to try this one just for example. This one worked really pretty good because the glaze is nice and light, but sometimes these lines can get covered up with the glaze pretty easily. So you really got to make sure that they're deep, they're well carved. So let's take a look at this basketball. See that? See how that's really pushed in there nice? That also makes it easier for glazing. I can actually get a paintbrush down in here. See that? To actually glaze that. Whereas if it's a little tiny little line like that, like how do I paint that? That's kind of hard. So that's my tip for you if you're carving in lines. Maybe make them a little wider than you think, all right? Here's an example of a football where they didn't just draw the little stitches, they actually popped them out. And sometimes that is a little easier, again, for your glazing. So just a couple ideas there. All right, guys, that's enough yakking. I'm going to see what you guys do on day 2. Please have a picture out in front of you so that I can see what it is you're going for here. And guess what? If this goes in a different direction and ends up like a fat penguin, that's okay too. But at least I can try to help you make what you are trying to make. So let's go ahead and have studio time. Don't forget to clean up nicely. And remember, this is going to go back in a bag, wet paper towel, slide it into a bag, and back in my drawer until I'm absolutely finished. So have fun today. And I'll see you later. Bye.